So we're a couple minutes past the hour here, and we've already started chatting. So I should probably start with the spiel. So hello, everyone. This is the mentorship working group meeting of the CNCF Tag Contributor Strategy, and this is an official. This is an official meeting of the CNCF, so it is covered by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which can be paraphrased as "please be nice to each other." So it's good to see everyone. I'm wondering if somebody could drop a link to the agenda in the chat for folks, if you can. Otherwise, it is in the calendar invite. So hello, everyone. So just to recap, we were just saying that we've got actually pretty good attendance for not having announced it, but we should take a look at trying to automate the sending of messages. I also wonder if Slack might have an automation where we could send a scheduled message in the Slack channel as well. I'm not sure if that would be better than the email list or not. Please add yourself to the attendance section, and if you have anything that isn't already on the agenda, feel free to add whatever you would like. I'm happy to chat with folks about really almost anything. One note, just in terms of the LFX mentorship project proposals, that we are in the second week of proposals. We've had probably 4 or 5 proposals added, which is lovely. It's a little light, but I always worry that it's a little light. Usually the bulk of proposals come in on Thursday evening, Friday evening, just before the deadline. So hopefully there will be a bit of an uptick there moving forward. But if you are in contact with CNCF projects and are talking to maintainers, please take an opportunity to remind them that, hey, we've got opportunities for folks. I'll probably be reaching out to a few maintainers individually, just because I know that I won't name names, but I know that they appreciate the prodding and will have something for us if we do poke them. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is every last Wednesday of the month we do a CNCF Tech Writers open office hours, and this month, because we are in the last week of the we're in the last week of the proposals, I also opened it up and invited maintainers who are interested in chatting about mentorship to join us as well. So that is extended to you folks here as well, if you're interested in jumping in and talking about technical documentation and or mentorship. It's an open forum, and would be happy to see you. Anybody got any comments or questions about LFX mentorship this time around?
I did pin your meeting to my calendar for the tech writers. I'll see if I can make it. It's a little early, but I'll try and be there.
Yeah, I figured it would probably be a little early for you. Sorry about that. Time zones being what they are. Okay, moving on. 2023 mentorship goals. It's still an open document. I've chatted with Chris Anichuk about them just for what would the term be? A sanity check, and he's given me a couple of suggestions on priorities and whatnot, but he thinks it's a good set. And so again, if you're interested in discussing or updating the goals SAR, there's a link to the HackMD file, and it should be open for anybody to edit. So okay, moving on to I'm actually going to do the quick ones here before we go into repo revisions. I know repo revisions are the next thing on the list, but Google Summer of Code org applications are currently being accepted this week and next. And that is something that I am going to be working with Chris Anchuk on. Last time we went through this process, I believe it was he and Ihor who did it. So I actually wasn't involved just yet. So Chris and I will work on that just to make sure that I've got a good understanding of the process. I expect it to be fairly pro forma. And then, like I said, that's a 2-week process. And then afterwards, we can start looking at how we're going to start planning to deal with inviting the project maintainers to help them apply, or rather help them set up projects that potential mentees can apply to, because Google Summer of Code is a little bit different from the LFX program. With GSOC, the potential mentees all have to write up a proposal based on the project idea. So it's a little bit more work on the mentee side rather than the mentor side. But it's as opposed to the LFX, where we say, okay, here's the project idea, and mentees apply and discuss with the mentors directly. Any comments or questions about that before we move on?
I have actually
Sure.
some comments. So the ideas page can be actually created earlier.
The
so
ideas
that,
page?
yeah, like the project ideas, for example, for last year. Let me try to find them.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that, and you know what? Let's jump into repo revision. We'll wrap this into the repo chat. Well.
Yeah,
because I think I was wondering, and I wanted to pass it by you folks. Right now, we run the LFX one term at a time. Right? We say, okay, here's the term that we've got up, and I'm wondering if we might want to do, instead of one, I wonder if we want to open up all 3 for a year and say, okay, let's open up all 3 of them. And instead of having a 2-week window, we could accept proposals whenever they come in for a given term. Now, there would still have to be a deadline in order to get into a particular thing. But I think that speaks to what you're talking about with an ideas page, where we say, okay, here's what we're going to be doing this year. Here's Google Summer of Code, here's Season of Docs, here's all 3 terms of LFX mentorship, and say, here are our dates, here are when things have to be done by, and if people have, let's say, now they realize that, oh, we've got a project that we'd like to do, but it's not going to fit for the March-May term. Maybe it'll work for the term 2. And I think that is sort of what you're talking about with the.
that is actually better than what I thought. So I was thinking creating the ideas page early enough so that when we have, for example, potential mentees that are coming to me saying, hey, I want to participate in Knative with GSOC. What should I do? I say, well, we will have an ideas page, like what you can do, maybe some potential project ideas, but it's not there yet. So they want to start early. Also, similarly, the maintainers they want to create or they want to list the potential project ideas earlier.
So
Even
we
sorry, yeah, go
suggested
ahead.
to take advantage of Clotributor, we suggested actually doing this. We were talking in the last meeting about potentially doing this using help wanted combined with mentor available tags. And that way the project can add those at any time of the year. And when it comes time to, do any of these sort of cyclical internship programs, we can just pull from the project's list of open stuff and say, hey, is this still your list of projects or do you need to update it? Because we kind of already have the tooling for that, because otherwise any other place that we put the ideas, we're going to have to constantly come after people to put them there.
Well, so if you're asking me, I'm not sure about the tool,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty new in this working group,
Okay.
but I think that's what you say, what you and others explain kinda solves the issue I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that would
And
work.
I think to the Clotributor, I think that it would be valuable to, I completely agree. I think we should bring it into our process. But I think we need to figure out how that would look. I think we should maybe brainstorm a little bit on how do we invite folks to use Clotributor? How do we make sure that folks are tagging things correctly? And then, like you said, reaching out and saying, hey, is this still correct? Is this still available? And then just dumping that into the I think we had discussed a quote mentor available tag as well. So we would need to try and figure out how to train the projects to use those tags and sort of pay attention. And then when it comes time to filling out our ideas page, I agree it would be easier. Like what I see happening is, and what I want to avoid is saying, oh, well, I see this Clotributor surfaced issue. Let's put it into the ideas page. If we do that without referring or referencing or talking to the project, it may not, like we would be volunteering people to be mentors. So we would definitely have to make sure that we're reaching out to the projects to see if they're still available before sort of putting them on, because people will apply, and so we have to make sure that it's not. We have to make sure that it's legit still, or that there is capacity to mentor, even if the mentor available tag is there. I think we would have to double check.
I think I agree that the Clotributor link need to go onto the website or into the repo and the README, and we definitely reference that. And then I like Ali's idea of having it available earlier, and then if we have it open all year long, people can just PR in ideas as they get them, and yeah, I think that would be helpful.
What do you think about using the GitHub discussions for this? So a new idea would be a new discussion in GitHub, and then we can use tags to differentiate between like ideas that are open and ideas that are accepted and whatnot, and we can maybe use use some references. So I don't know if that would be easier on the management side of this, because if we tell projects to use, labels and whatnot, there are a couple of issues. First one that I see is that some projects or some maintainers don't really keep the issues up to date, and don't some don't even know like handle GitHub as well. So there's that issue, and there's another issue of we have the burden of going after ideas and whatnot that are out of date, and tracking down people to. We still have to do that. So having a centralized place in maybe GitHub discussions, I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I would be. Oops, wrong. I just wanted to bring up the discussions board. I'd be happy to bring up. Like right now we've got different categories, and I had a category for Google Summer of Code 2022, and for each idea I opened up a thread, and I think only about, I don't know, probably 15% of those threads were used, and I opened a lot because I wanted to try and encourage conversation. So what it wound up being is there was a lot of overhead for me to open up all the threads and to sort of monitor them and do any moderation that needed to happen. And I wanted to make sure that, not necessarily moderation, but I wanted to make sure that if a mentee sort of popped in, I wanted to make sure that they were responded to, and in some cases that was me instead of the maintainer. And so I found that it was quite a lot of work for, I didn't think a whole lot of value. Now I can be convinced to do something like that again, but I would, because we're linking all of these back to upstream issues, I think I'd rather the conversation happen on those issues rather than in our discussion board. I'm happy for, like I said, we can like if somebody opens up a conversation on our board, I think that's great, and I'm happy to do that. But I'm not sure that the conversation per project should happen on our boards.
And it
Yeah.
might also be hard to filter the conversation back into issues too, because it might become a jumble of information.
Yeah, the fewer, like I like having a list, and this is why I like the ideas page, because it gives us a centralized list of, oh, here's the issues, and then people can follow that link to the issue and have a conversation there, and then apply going through the process that we're thinking of, rather that we already have in place. So then we would send people either to Google Summer of Code's site to do the application, or we would send them to the LFX mentorship platform to do the applications. But we should definitely be encouraging mentees to reach out to potential mentors. There should be a lot of, I'd like to see more conversation between that. And that's actually good for mentors as well, because I've had a lot of feedback over the last couple of cycles that, and I've tried to sort of give mentors a little bit more time in the program to make their selections, because some folks, I think it was only a week in previous, if you have a lot of mentees or applicants, it can be difficult to sift through them and have conversations with everybody and really try to evaluate who best to bring on. So this time around, I think it's 2 weeks, maybe even more. It's like 15 days. So yeah.
Yeah, I see the overhead there. Yeah, I was thinking more of having anyone that has the idea come up to the discussions and create the thread and do that themselves. But I guess that probably require like some communication and training. So yeah, maybe that's not the best approach.
And also with the ideas pathway, we could have a bit of a bring your own mentor for mentees as an option. That think of the idea, find a mentor, bring the mentor with you, and you have a project, something like that.
Well, I think that's kind of not really sourcing their own mentor, but it's like that's the application process, right? That's the if a mentee or a potential mentee is interested in a project, like a CNCF project, I mean, and wants to do a mentorship with that project, I think that it is on that mentee to reach out to that project and those maintainers and say, hey, I'm interested in doing this thing. Can you open up a project idea or like if I think that there is already the mechanism to do that, I guess is my point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we I don't think we explicitly say that, mind you, but it's part of the communication, the implication of saying, hey, communicate with your projects or your potential mentors.
And I'd be reluctant to suggest anything in the realm of bring your own mentor for any of the paid internship programs like LFX, because I haven't seen there's no LFX, but a common scam that we encountered at GSOC is that a faculty or staff member from an institution would attempt to set up a GSOC project and pick one of their existing students as the student for the project and split the money.
Right.
And of course not do any work.
Yes.
So I mean, for that reason, I don't think for any of the paid internships that, you know, find your own mentor or even suggesting that that might be a possibility is a great idea.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, I think we have enough with the project saying we have this hole that needs to be filled, or this project that needs to be built, or whatnot. So I think I would tend to agree with Josh there. Anything else we want to discuss around this topic?
So are we going more towards the idea of having each project having their issues with labels and then integrating that with the contributor? Is that the?
Yeah, I think for this round, I think for this semester, I think we should do it the way we've sort of always done it, just because there's not enough time to get. But I think what we should do is break off into like a working session with maybe a subset of us, and try and come up with some ideas around how to incorporate Contributor into our process here. I mean, we could continue talking here about it, but I think what I'd like to see is several of us saying, okay, here's a process. Here's how this could fit, and here's what we would have to do in order to reach out to maintainers and how to train folks on how to use those tags and whatnot. And then part of the reason I like that is because it puts things back into the CNCF project and the maintainers' own repos. Like if they're not going to tag their own repos, then it's like it's hard to ask them. It's almost the least effort, right? So that's sort of my thought on that. Does that help? Does that work for you, Alexander? Okay. Thank you for bringing up a, hey, let's put a to-do around this. It's all good to sit and talk. Anything else on that before we move on to the repo revisions? No? Okay. I'd like to invite Jay or Rian. Would you like to speak to the repo refactor?
Jay, you can take it if you want.
Kia ora all. First of all, sorry I'm a bit late. Got a builder coming in and out, and my kids are on holidays at the moment. So yeah, sorry. So just checking everyone. They go back to school next week, which would be awesome. Yeah, so been chipping away at yeah, some of the stuff around the repo. And also, sorry, Ali, nice to meet you. My name's Jay, new face. Good to see you. And thank you for your comments and contributions to some of the movements that have been on repo lately. It's very much appreciated and on point. So yeah, appreciate that.
Thank you.
So yeah, so we've been catching up a little bit around making some movement around that. Let's see, Nate's tagged a few people in there to just give a bit of a update in terms of where things are at the moment. Good, thank you. Sorry. And so we've obviously done a little bit of a restructure of things, and at a point of just trying to condense things down a little bit further. Marianne's done a couple additional sort of actions of that as of today, which is awesome too. But basically we're sort of at the point now where yeah, trying to get a little bit of movement and everyone to be able to sort of pitch in their ideas in terms of what things might look like next. I guess one of the sorts of things would foremost sort of things would be looking at perhaps merging that V2 branch in, so people can start making some changes on that as well, keep the momentum. At the moment, it's still, even though we sort of stripped things down and moved things around a little bit, it's still a bit more bloated than what we might have liked, and just in some recent conversation as well, as perhaps in each of those folders, which is currently exists around mentees, mentors, the working group stuff, and the programs and information, which includes like the archives and all that sort of thing. Perhaps just reducing that down even a bit further into some of those sort of topic areas that exist, particularly in the mentees and mentors folders, into like a single file, so you can just sort of reference all that sort of thing, and then we can allow people to sort of contribute stuff like the success stories and any other sort of links and information, diagramming stuff or anything like that, so we can continue to sort of flesh out what it might look like to have that all available and accessible for people. Because one of the ongoing things still tends to be, Nate especially, is handling a lot of those communications with individual requests and people trying to contact via email and spamming the Slack channels and all that sort of thing. So especially now the the intakes are open, we've got to try and get some of that sort of stuff a little more clear and accessible for people to follow the process. So yeah, it's sort of where things are at the moment. So any thoughts or input, welcome.
One thing about the timing of when we want to merge V2 in, I'd like to get it in as soon as possible, but with the caveat that we have published links to our current structure and have invited folks to open PRs against the existing structure. And so I would like to get through this sort of ideas section before merging in. I think that we could probably, if it's approved, I want to get a little bit more review. I want to get a few more eyes on this PR before we do merge it. But in terms of timing, I think probably it's like I don't want to do it too soon because I think that would be confusing because it is such a big change, and because we published links.
That's all good. Leon, did you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think if we're gonna hold out for merging it in now, then the next step would be then to work on the mentee and mentor files and trying to, as Jay said, clean it up and make it a single README. So what I then would propose is we continue with that and in a separate branch, and then push it again with a PR into the V2 branch. So we keep on chipping away at the V2 branch, make the mentor and mentee sections fully developed so it contains all the information that we would like to share in a most concise way, and then people can contribute to make it cleaner and better.
Yeah, and I can also rebase that V2 on main so that we have all of the normally on something this big, I don't want to do it too often. So I think probably I can commit to rebasing about once a week on this, just to make sure that everything in V2 is up to date with all the stuff that is in the current main branch.
I think that that's a clear path for Jay and myself to work on those two files. Anybody else that wants to is more than welcome to help with that.
In terms of reviewing, I cast the net quite wide. Is there a point, like at what point do we want to take the work in progress off? Because I think that's, once we take work in progress off, that's, I think, when folks like and correct me if I'm wrong here, but folks like Josh and Chris and once we take that label off, that's, I think, the cue for other folks to take a look and say, okay, this is worth reviewing. So at what point do you think that you would want the work in progress to come off?
Yeah, did you mean like specific dates, or like is this
Well,
a time frame for it, or?
We've got a board, like a project board associated with this as well, right?
Yeah.
So is there, like, I guess what I'm asking is, what's the minimum amount of work that you want to have done before, how can I say this? Yeah, like what's your, like in terms of a date, I don't have a specific date in mind, just I would like it to merge after this round. But in terms of the work that you feel like you want to have done before you get a, why can't I articulate this? I guess
I think I'm with you, though.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's I don't know if in general sort of agreement that, like I said, having less files, basically less clicks for those who have to reference it, and get a lot of those sort of key sort of points down. You know, addressing a lot of the common sort of questions that you know, potential mentees can seem to continually be sort of posting. I think, you know, I think that's probably, you know, the most of it sort of need to, you know, to have on there at the moment. Like it's that same sort of thing, pretty much almost like the FAQs, I guess, at the moment. Like what are the same people need, what do people typically need as far as that, you know, that first starting point where they can reference to, you know, a couple of key sorts of questions that they're asking about how to, you know, make a first project selection. I've even seen Ali sort of fielding some of those comments in the Slack channel and yourself, of course, Nate, even recently, like knock out a couple of those things, couple of links, couple of examples, and link to the program information, because obviously the sites like LFX and Outreach, etc., all have quite extensive, go into quite a lot of depth of those specific programs and stuff anyway. And I think just get that up. So I said it's one of the biggest things, from my opinion, at the moment, is just changing from that original sort of structure that was quite confusing and quite dense, and at least getting down to something where people can go, okay, this is the direction that we want to sort of be heading, and then allow everyone else to sort of, feed in as we continue that conversation.
Right.
Yeah, I think I agree. When the mentor and mentee page is more or less structured the way we like it, and it doesn't have to be final. I think we're good to take the work in progress off. And then what I'm a little concerned about adding more work after that is the PR is an enormous thing to review at this stage because of the amount of things we moved around. So we might want to rebase the whole PR at one stage and just squash it into single commit.
Yeah, at some point, like when we actually bring everything back in, and this is why I asked Jay to put the diagrams in the description, is so that the reviewers can see what the intention is and compare that to what the file structure is in the end. And so, and that's sort of what I'm talking about with the rebasing. I don't think that we'll squash it just because we've had to rebase it a few times, which means there are commits in there that will, I think if we squashed it, it wouldn't play nice with the history. So I'd like to leave the number of commits there, but we should be rebasing this, like I said, weekly, just to make sure that everything is where it is up to date when we decide to go. So what I'm hearing though is the minimum viable product is obviously the folder restructure, which I think we've got, the mentor page, the mentee page, and then some sort of FAQ. Once we get those three things in, then we can take work in progress off, and we can in earnest ask folks to please review. And that still gives us an opportunity to have at least all of the things that we have historically had, but it also gives us like I said, we do have open issues. Those don't all have to come in, and we'll have an opportunity to keep chipping away at things and adding things. And this is why I think that it's okay to have, in some cases, empty files that have been created that are just placeholders. Does that sound reasonable? So folder restructure done. Mentor page, mentee page, and FAQ, and then that's the MVP.
Yep.
And then you said after this round, what is your expected date when you would feel comfortable that people would not lose anything from published links?
Well, probably after this set of ideas, I think that we can. You know what? I would probably, just to keep things. Well, I'll ask you rather than. So my concern is we've published links, and GitHub doesn't have a redirection tool. Unfortunately, it's not actually a website. So the existing links, if they aren't there, they just 404. So we have two sets of people that we've sent this to. Well, only one set really, but the second set is sort of implied. We've sent this to all of the maintainers and said, here's where to put ideas for this term. Then we have the potential applicants who are going to be looking for this page. And again, because we published it in a public way, they're going to say, oh, well, there's the link, and then it's been 404. So we want to make sure that those folks get the thing. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that I'd like to get this in, although I think I can change it for Google Summer of Code, because part of the application process for Google Summer of Code is saying, here's the URL where your ideas are going to be. So I'd like to get it in before we do that, but after we've done this round of ideas. So I think that gives us a window of kind of next week, maybe the week after that. I think next week. But what are your thoughts on that? Everyone here.
I think you're about the best qualified to call the date, because you best know the schedule. So it sounds about right what you've got. What I was thinking, if it's hard for you, we can even look at the published link and see if we can incorporate that page to live exactly in the same path in V2.
Just leave it.
So when you bring in V2,
yeah.
And so when you bring in V2, that actual link will work, because we sustain that even artificially, that we need to change it later. So that's what I can think of to help you to work around your timing.
That works for me. I'd be happy if we did that, because again, just keeping a page that is where the existing page is, saying, hey, this is moved, go over here. That works for me.
All right. Let's just agree what link, then I'll stick that in for you on the V2, and then you can merge whenever you're happy and got reviews sufficiently throughout the community.
Okay. Then the next question is, does that give you enough time to finish up the bits that, rather, does that give us enough time to finish up the bits that I'm asking Rihan and Jay, because they're primarily the ones who've been making these edits. So does that work for you if we aim for next week sometime?
Yep, that works on our side.
Let's work on it as fast as we can.
Okay. Josh, because you're one of the folks that I would like to have look at it, does that work for you in terms of timing for review? I think you're on mute, Josh.
When are you talking about it being ready?
Next week sometime.
Yeah, okay.
Probably late next week.
Okay. I mean, because of a timing issue, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week are Cloud Native Security Con.
That's a point too.
And things might be boring there during sessions, and I'll be able to review.
Yeah.
But it's also possible that things will not be, or that Wi-Fi will be flaky.
Yeah. I completely forgot about. I'm actually going to be at that myself.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that. Okay. I think we have to push it back the week past that. Then I don't see it sort of getting the review that it needs, given that a lot of the key folks are going to be at that conference.
No worries. It also gives us a little leeway to work on it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, let's see, put it out there, because I'm going to be mainly there for Red Hat booth duty. And it might be that things are completely dead during sessions, and that the Wi-Fi is fast and reliable.
Yeah.
And in that case, I'll get it reviewed. I just want to be prepared in case I don't.
That's fair.
That time frame's all good.
Perfect.
Well.
Thanks, Josh.
Just a couple of queries in the chat there. Ellie's asked, suggest keep the V1 page blank with the links to the V2 page. And also Alexander's asked about sharing a link that would break if we have one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I just pasted an example for a link that would break.
Oh, nice, thank
for
you.
instance. Yeah. And the Google Summer of Code 2023 one will also break, but that's something we can work on as well. But that's I wish that process were a little clearer. But yeah. Okay. So I think that is our agenda, and looking at the time, we're at about 10-15 minutes to the top of the hour. Is there anything else we'd like to discuss before?
Oh, just did you want to talk a bit more to Ellie's question there about the
did I miss
suggestion?
What did I miss? Missed.
No, it was just about, so instead of trying to keep the V1 page in the same path with the V2 page, or the opposite, sorry.
Yeah,
Trying
that's, I
to
think,
have,
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think. I agree.
that's just an idea
Yeah,
to
no,
have
I
a
think having-
link. Yeah, eventually
Larry,
get rid
Josh,
of
thanks for
that
coming
blank page, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a good solution, because again, that'll take care of the 404 issue. So we would edit the page that we've linked to and say, okay, well, it may look weird for 4 months, and we'll put an issue out to remove it later. But saying something along the lines of, hey, this page is moved, find the information over here, I think is the way to manage that. So I agree.
Is the linking breaking from external to GitHub or within documents?
Well, it's going to be
GitHub itself?
the link that Ali just shared, right? The Tree Main LFX Mentorship 2023 May, right? That link is likely to be moved. Like the page that is there is moving, and so that's going to break once we move it. Once we actually merge this.
But which pages are linking to that are just
Oh, emails.
Alright.
I've said, hey, come to this page. And we published it on Slack and sent it out to the maintainers' email lists and such. That's all I'm saying. I don't think there's a page in the site that, or in the repo, that will break. It's that we've published it and said, hey, come to this site, come to this link, and that's what's going to break.
But Nate, that page actually is, if you go to V2, it's exactly like that in V2.
Oh, fantastic.
So if we merge it in, I'm looking at one example. So that path stays the same because there's mentoring
Fantastic.
programs in it. So I think it won't break.
Is it?
No, there's
just try-
programs
The
subfolder,
folder.
I think.
Yeah.
I think it's going to break because that's going into.
Oh yeah, it's subfolded into programs. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so-
Yes, it will break. Sorry.
So
Yeah,
I
overlap-
think
overlap
the
that.
so I like the structure much better. So just because of the links that might break, I mean, we shouldn't cancel this restructure or something because
I'm
of
not
that.
canceling.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to
Not
postpone
can,
it.
yeah. Or just try to hack around by trying to move the pages or keep the paths for the pages in the same place. Just add links, I think. That's the easiest.
Well, that's, yeah, I agree. And they would only have to be temporary. And again, any link that we leave, we should open an issue to remove after X number of days. Just to make sure that we're sort of remembering them for later, because it'll look a little bit weird. So
Good. I'll see if I can do something about that links.
But one question, sorry. What pages to keep in V2 and whatnot? So what is important? What is, or what links are shared with others and what's
I would
not? So that's kind of the issue.
the only one that I'm concerned about right now is that let me make sure that I've got the right link here, because I've sent out an email saying, hey, do this. But so sent, where is it? Yeah, mentoring tree main LFX mentorship 2023 01 Marmay. That here, copy link. Let me put it into here.
Oh, that's the only one. Cool.
That's the
I was
only
just
link that
making a
I'm concerned
guess.
is gonna,
Yeah.
that's the only one that I'm really concerned about breaking, because that's the only one that we've published that has a timeline associated with it. And again, if we're pushing things out, it may not matter. Oops, send it to everybody. Like if we go out 2 or 3 weeks before merging V2 in, this won't matter. If we're merging it in next week, it does. That's my point.
So I guess it's just better to hold until right until this one finishes, and then the change goes on. I guess that's the
Yeah, it sounds like that's the so I wouldn't necessarily put the effort into doing the blank page just yet, because we can do that whenever. We can do that as like a last, if we feel like we need it the day before the merge, we can say, okay, we'll need this. Otherwise, let's keep it clean. Let's keep it looking like we want it to look.
Sweet.
Sounds good. So we have a minute left in this scheduled meeting. Is there anything? Thank you, Rian, for taking notes. I appreciate that. I find it very difficult to type and talk at the same time. So, but is there anything else anyone would like to bring up before we go?
It's all
Need
good
to
for me.
mention that Jay is an even better note taker than I am. So thanks for the partnership there.
Thank you both.
Team effort.
Thanks, everybody. Nice
All right,
meeting you.
have
Ali.
yourselves a good day. Enjoy the rest
Nice
of your
meeting you.
morning,
So,
afternoons, or evenings. Take care.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one.
Bye.
Cheers.
thanks.
thanks all.
See you guys.